Chapter 4, Observational Form Breakdown. All right, here we are in the final chapter of this week and the final challenge as well. So for this one, since we've been warming up to this point, we're going to be drawing from observation. So you can set up a simple still life or use one of the photographs that was provided. You can do this traditionally or digitally, but again, just like last week, at the very end of the chapter for week 2, we're going to use our observational skills. This means we will need to start by doing some thumbnails to really find the appropriate framing we have for our objects. So here, starting off, I'm blocking in some simple shapes. Here I'm going to start off with the mug, which is the largest shape, which makes it easier for me to get the placement and proportions of the rest of the objects around it. From here, remember to draw small. I'm going to zoom in for the demo purposes, but try to work around the size of a business card. No bigger and not too small. Blocking in the shadows is a great idea at this point because they are part of the composition. I'm also blocking in the forms and shapes as I see fit. You can keep these loose, but just remember to draw through. So by now, hopefully you've been warming up and feeling comfortable on seeing through the forms. So that's a very generic thumbnail I have here, which encompasses all the objects. I'm going to try one now that is a little bit, so I'm going to try one now that has a little bit of a different framing. I'm going to try a vertical frame. See if I can get a different feel. And as you see here, I'm drawing the ellipse outside of the frame. Just really drawing through and making sure I'm getting the forms correct. So if you're deciding to crop your image or the objects in the image, make sure to draw outside of it. That way you get a truer version of the forms you're trying to draw. From here, what I'm thinking about is the spacing between the frame. So the negative shape or space, like we've mentioned in the previous week, is really important because it's not just the objects themselves, but the things around it that makes the composition, a whole image. I'm blocking in the shadow. I didn't do that in the previous one, but if you look at the shadow inside the cup, it has a very dynamic shape to it. So it's a very integral part of the composition. Right, from here, I'm going to try one more thumbnail, going back to more of a horizontal composition. And here I'm going to try a close-up of the bottom of the mug, trying to get a different feel. Even though I feel like this is one I won't use, I just want to see how it looks. So feel free to experiment at this point and, just try to figure out something that might work or might not. Doesn't hurt to try, spending a few minutes to just see a extra possibility. And then from here, for my assessment, as much as I like the third one for a painting, I feel like it doesn't work that well for the type of drawing we're doing, which is drawing the forms, and it doesn't really show enough of the shapes. I've decided to go with the middle composition. So I'm going to try to copy the aspect ratio. And you could do this either on a separate sheet or if you have a large enough sheet, you can just have it with the thumbnails. So starting off with the largest object, which is the mug, I'm going to try to block it in, just really drawing through even outside of the border, getting my ellipses down, and it's basically a tapered cylinder. From there, I'm going to get the larger lines, which is the background, and that'll help me get all these smaller objects in place. Definitely utilize the lessons we've learned from the previous week, where we're learning how to find those angles to help us find the other objects. So you'll notice I'm dotting off different sections, so I'm kind of estimating where these objects are kind of landing in relation to each other. So blocking in my ellipses here, finding the center. It's not a bad idea to quickly bounce around to each different object to really block them in. As you see here, even though it's just a half sphere, I decided to try to block it in with a full circle, just so I can get that true flow and not have to kind of scratch my way just drawing that curve. You could always erase it out just to clean up your initial lay-in. The thing about lay-ins is, no matter what, you're gonna have a lot of rough lines, and that's very normal. That's why a lot of illustrators and animators, they'll use a very light pencil, sometimes a blue color pencil as well, just to do some of that initial lay-in, rough it out before going into some heavy line work. So between the large cube and the mug, even in this small section, I'm just trying to find some forms that I could block in. Even though I don't have the true shape to see in terms of the actual connection of that mug, I can quickly block in an ellipse to try and get that connection to read. Then from here, I'm just kind of slowing down and taking my time to really check if my placement is accurate enough. You'll see me here drawing this cube over again and kind of nudging it to the right. Since I'm moving that around, I'll have to move the mug as well, because there's quite a bit of a gap between the edge of the mug inside of the handle and also the edge of the cube.